Rylan Voss had learned something crucial during his month at the Solar in court. Aurelians didn't mock quietly, they mocked beautifully. And tonight, the most beautiful Aurelian of them all was walking straight toward him. Princess Sarah's veil moved like liquid starlight. Her gown shimmered with flowing nebula colors, shifting from violet to deep cerulean with every step. Her long, bioluminescent ears glowed in delicate patterns, elegant, hypnotic, unmistakably royal. And her face, sharp and luminous, was the kind of alien beauty that made diplomats forget their own names. She floated across the crystalline floor of the grand prism hall, where thousands of facets reflected her light in a halo of impossible radiance. The entire room pulsed with triumphant gold tones. They just unveiled a new orbital shield lattice, another reminder that the Aurelians were 2 centuries ahead of humanity. Rylan stood at his assigned post near the eastern wall, wearing his standard-issue human armor, solid plates, composite materials, visible seams. Compared to the Aurelians' seamless neural shield technology, he looked like a medieval artifact left in the wrong century. Sarah's glow brightened the moment her eyes landed on him. "Showtime. Sergeant Voss," she announced with syrup-smooth melody. "I see you've chosen your endearingly primitive armor again." A soft wave of laughter spread through the courtiers, their glowing ears flickering with delight. Rylan gave the polite half-smile he'd practiced. "Standard issue, Your Highness." Sarah circled him, every movement ethereal. "Tell me, is it true humans fasten their armor with straps?" Another ripple of laughter. "Do they click or rattle? I'm curious." Her voice carried the silk of amusement, but her ears betrayed a sharper intent, a predatory sparkle. "And this material?" She tapped his chest plate with one luminous finger. The clang echoed, loud. "A titanium composite? How charming! Our museums keep relics like this in the ancient warfare section." The nobles laughed harder this time, light dancing off their crystalline garments. One added, "Perhaps humans need such weight to feel real. Their worlds are so thin." Saris tilted her head, glow intensifying in smug amusement. "And these projectile weapons, chemically propelled lumps of metal. Tell me, Sergeant, do you practice with wooden swords too?" Their laughter turned sharp. Mockery fed mockery, the court devoured it, but Rylan didn't break posture, didn't blink. Didn't give her a single reaction. He'd endured worse from drill sergeants who screamed hard truths at recruits until their old identities died. Saras's taunts were just glitter-coated insults, but tonight something in her tone shifted. She wasn't mocking him, she was mocking the dead. And then she tapped his chest plate again, harder, like knocking on a museum display. That sound cut deeper than her words. Something inside him cracked, not in anger but in resolve. Very quietly, very calmly, Rylan reached up and unclasped his gauntlet. The hall's laughter began to fade. Saris blinked. "What are you doing?" He didn't respond. He removed the gauntlet and placed it gently on the floor. Aurelian guards stiffened. Courtiers whispered. The hall's bioluminescent panels dimmed in confusion. Rylan removed the second gauntlet, then unlatched the chest plate. Piece by piece, his armor came away, revealing the truth beneath. A plasma burn spiraling over his right shoulder. Shrapnel scars across his ribs. Regenerated tissue along his wrist, mismatched in tone. Impact marks where bullets had struck but not killed him. The long, jagged scar over his chest, survival etched into flesh. Scars no Aurelian soldier carried. Scars no simulation could replicate. The hall fell utterly silent. Even the panels stopped shifting. Even the nobles stopped glowing. Saras's ears dimmed almost white, shock, fear, something unfamiliar. Rylan removed the last piece, his helmet, and set it on the floor beside the others. Then he looked directly at the princess. Not above her, not through her, at her. It was the first real moment between them. Then he turned and walked toward the exit. No bow, no permission, no apology, only the steady echo of his boots against crystal. 10 steps, 15, 20. An elderly Aurelian counselor lifted her hand, ears etched with age lines glowing faint silver. She spoke one word in Old Aurelian, a word that carried the weight of history, a word that froze the hall. Rylan didn't understand it. But every Aurelian did. 2 guards stepped in front of the exit, not threatening, ceremonial. The elder spoke again in standard. "Sergeant Voss, the rite of revelation has been witnessed." Saris inhaled sharply. Her glow collapsed into a frantic, trembling pattern. The hall remained frozen long after the elder's declaration. Aurelians stood like carved statues, their bioluminescent ears locked in patterns of alarm and disbelief. Even the light panels along the walls dimmed into muted purples, colors of uncertainty. Princess Sarah's veil looked as if someone had shattered the floor beneath her. Her glow flickered in rapid, disorganized pulses Rylan had never seen. Not superiority, not amusement, something closer to panic. The elder stepped forward, her robes shimmering with age-worn authority. "Sergeant Rylan Voss," she said, each syllable deliberate, "do you understand what you have done?" Rylan lifted his hands slightly. "Ma'am, I took off my armor because I was tired of being mocked. If that violates protocol, I'll accept whatever reprimand follows." Her ears glowed with a deep, sorrowful blue. "It is not protocol you have violated. It is tradition you have awakened." Rylan frowned, awakened. The elder turned to the gathering nobles. "Let it be recorded. The rite of revelation has been witnessed in the grand prism hall." A collective gasp rippled through the court. Rylan saw terrified ear patterns, some nobles whispering urgently, a few even stepping back away from him. Saris finally found her voice, thin, unsteady. "This is absurd. Elder Marin, the rite hasn't been invoked in 4 centuries. It can't possibly apply." "It applies," the elder replied coldly, "because you fell silent before revealed truth. That is the core condition." Saris's glow collapsed entirely. Rylan looked between them. "Someone explain what this rite actually is." The elder gestured, and a floating hologram expanded in front of them, ancient text spiraling in Aurelian runes, then translating into standard. "As you know," she began, "before our people ascended technologically, we were a warrior culture. Battles were raw, brutal, fought with flesh, not shields." The nobles stiffened. Aurelians did not like discussing their less elegant past. "In those times, nobles would mock the warriors who fought for them," she continued. "Mock their scars, mock their primitive armor, mock their sacrifices." Saris swallowed hard. "But there existed a safeguard," the elder said. "A law older than our first starships, the rite of revelation." The hologram zoomed in on a passage. "White if a warrior removes their armor and reveals truth, scars earned in real battle. White and if the noble who mocked them falls silent, unable to answer that truth. White then a bond is forged. White the noble must acknowledge the warrior's worth. White the warrior gains standing equal to the noble they silenced. White the bond cannot be dismissed without mutual consent." Rylan blinked. "So because I took off my armor, and she stopped talking, we're bound." Saris's voice cracked. "I didn't mean to fall silent, I didn't expect, I didn't know." "The rite does not care for intent," the elder said. Rylan scrubbed a hand down his face. "You're saying this is legally binding." "More than binding," the elder said. "It elevates you, Sergeant Voss, to the rank of a recognized warrior of the Radiant line, equal in standing to Princess Saris." The gasps in the hall were sharp this time. Rylan stared. "You're joking." Aurelian law did not joke. Saris trembled visibly, her glow flickering. "And what exactly does this bond mean?" Rylan asked slowly. The elder's eyes softened with age-old gravity. "It means that in ancient times, a warrior who invoked the rite became either the noble's shield or their consort." The hall erupted into frantic noise, shocked murmurs, arguments, disbelief. Rylan felt the blood drain from his face. "Ma'am," he said to the elder, "with all respect, I don't want to be anyone's consort." Sarah snapped, her voice cracking with embarrassment. "Neither do I." "Intent is irrelevant," the elder reminded. "The law responds to what was witnessed." At that moment, a human voice cut through the chaos. Sergeant Voss, Lieutenant Arya Shaw, highest-ranking human diplomat at the court, stormed into view, her expression a mixture of horror and migraine-grade pain. "Sergeant, what have you done?" she hissed. Rylan answered honestly. "I showed her my scars." Shaw pressed her palms against her temples. "God help us." More Aurelian elders entered, more murmurs, more muttering about precedent, scandal, tradition, obligation. The elder turned to Saris. "Princess, the law requires immediate acknowledgement. You must either accept the bond or both of you must perform the release ritual." "Yes," Shaw snapped. "The release ritual, that one, perfect, let's do that." Saris's glow dimmed to an unreadable hush. Her voice came out quiet, too quiet. "I refuse." Every Aurelian in the hall froze. The elder's ears flashed in shock. "Princess." Saris lifted her chin, though her glow shook. "I will not dismiss a warrior's truth until I understand it." Shaw stared at her. "Princess, no, absolutely not. This is a diplomatic nightmare." "It is my decision," Sarah said, suddenly iron-spined. "By law, I am permitted a private audience with the warrior before release, and I request it." Rylan blinked. "You want to talk to me alone." Saris's glow steadied, still shaken but resolute. Yes, tomorrow morning, no advisors. No diplomats, just you and me. Shaw grabbed Ryland's arm. You don't have to agree to this. Ryland exhaled slowly. He had endured battles. He had endured death. He had endured officers screaming at him inches from his face. But a princess who mocked him for months now wanting a private meeting. To understand his scars. That was new and strangely. It felt like a battle he needed to fight. I'll do it, Ryland said. She needs to hear it. The elder bowed her head. Then the right proceeds. The private audience chamber was smaller than Ryland expected. No grand hall, no ceremonial arches. Just a circular room with soft, flowing walls and gentle hues shifting through calm blues. Aurelians designed such spaces for honest conversation, not performance, which made the tension in the air feel even sharper. Princess Saris Vale was already there when Ryland entered, the door sealing behind him with a soft chime. She sat upright in a chair grown directly from the floor, her luminous gown dimmer than usual, her glow muted, almost human in its restraint. But her beauty remained stunning. More stunning, perhaps, without the arrogant light she usually wore. Sergeant Voss, she said quietly, please sit. Ryland remained standing. With respect, Your Highness, I'd prefer not to sit. Her ears flickered, surprise, then something like guilt. Because of yesterday, she whispered. Because sitting makes this look like I came willingly into another one of your performances, Ryland replied. And I'm not entertainment today. Saris closed her eyes for a moment. That's fair. Silence settled between them. Ryland had prepared speeches all night. Explanations, corrections, a dozen ways to tell her why he'd snapped. But none of those words felt right now, not when facing Saris without her audience, without her glow, without her armor of superiority. So he asked the only question that mattered. Why did you do it? Saris flinched, not dramatically, just enough that he saw the truth behind it. Why mock me for months? He asked. What did I do to deserve that? Her glow shifted, rippling unstable patterns across her ears. The Aurelian equivalent of trembling. You did nothing, she said, and that honesty hit harder than any insult. Then why? The princess swallowed, a controlled, shallow breath. Her voice when it came was small, because I was bored. Ryland stared, bored. Saris nodded, shame painting her glow in muted gray. Yes, bored, suffocated, surrounded by courtiers who only tell me what I want to hear. Nothing ever changes, nothing is real. Everything I see, everything I hear, everything I touch is filtered, curated, polished. She lifted her gaze and the glow in her eyes was raw. And then you arrived. Ryland didn't expect that. You stood still, silent, unmoving, no reaction. No spark. Her glow darkened. So I pushed and pushed and pushed, waiting for you to give me something real. He let that sink in. You kept going, Ryland said, because I didn't react. Yes, her voice cracked. I thought you were like the ceremonial guards of old, present but not real. I didn't think I could hurt you. I didn't think you actually cared. Ryland's jaw tensed. So you thought I was too stupid to care. No, she jolted forward. Not stupid, just. Her glow sputtered, then dimmed. Untouchable. That stunned him. I spent 6 months mocking a warrior who has survived things I cannot fathom, she whispered. And I did it because it was easy. Because it made people laugh. Because it gave me attention I didn't have to work for. Her glow dimmed to a faint, trembling blue, deep shame. I was cruel because cruelty was simple. Ryland didn't speak, didn't move. He simply rolled up his sleeve and revealed the long plasma burn on his shoulder. Saris inhaled sharply, stepping closer on instinct before catching herself. This, Ryland said, came from a resistance ambush on Nova Vera. I carried 3 wounded civilians out before the explosion. He lifted the other sleeve, projectile scars healed unevenly. This was in 0G combat. Enemy got through our perimeter. My medic patched me in 60 seconds so I could keep fighting. Her glow flickered, pain, disbelief, regret. Ryland pulled up the hem of his shirt just enough to show the ragged scar along his ribs. And this was the day I almost didn't come home. Saris's hand lifted slowly, hesitant, trembling. May I? She whispered. Ryland hesitated, then nodded. She touched the scar gently, carefully, as if afraid she might break him. Her fingers were warm, her glow brightened faintly, shifting into patterns he'd never seen, soft, reverent, almost sorrowful. This must have been agony, she murmured. It was, Ryland said, but the people lived, that's what mattered. Saris touched another scar, her voice barely a breath. You fought for civilians. For anyone who needed it, species didn't matter. Her glow flared with quiet awe. You risked your life again and again, while I mocked the armor that kept you alive. Rylan stepped back and lowered his shirt. You didn't know, he said. I didn't ask, she corrected softly. I assumed. She straightened, hands trembling at her sides. The right of revelation exists, Saris whispered, because my ancestors were exactly like me, blind to the suffering of those who protected them. Her glow settled into a solemn violet. You showed me truth yesterday, you silenced me. And by our oldest laws, that means I must acknowledge the warrior I failed to see. Rylan exhaled slowly. So what now? Saris swallowed hard. The advisors want me to dissolve the bond immediately. The Solar training atrium was nothing like the polished elegance of the grand prism hall. It was a vast chamber of shimmering light grids, shape-shifting walls, and floating platforms designed to simulate controlled, safe, perfectly predictable combat scenarios. Predictable, that alone made Rylan suspicious. Saris arrived in immaculate Aurelian training attire, light, shimmering, flowing like liquid metal, designed for grace, elegance, performance, not survival. Rylan waited in his patched, standard-issue PT gear, faded fabric repaired so many times it carried more thread memories than color. Her glow brightened as she approached, both nervous and determined. Sergeant Voss, she announced formally, I am ready for my first lesson. Rylan folded his arms. No, you're not. Her ears jerked, offended reflex. What? First lesson, Rylan said. Your clothes. Saris blinked, then looked down at her gleaming outfit. What's wrong with my training wear? It looks expensive, Rylan said, meaning it's probably fragile and it's glowing, which gives away your position, bad for stealth, bad for survival. It's standard Aurelian athletic wear, she protested. It's useless. Her glow sputtered indignantly. You humans are so practical. That's the point. Before she could argue, Rylan tossed a folded bundle toward her. She caught it awkwardly. What is this? Human combat training gear. She unfolded the bundle and stared. It was ugly, thick, dark, completely non-luminous, completely unflattering. Absolutely not, she declared. Rylan shrugged. Fine. But you'll ruin your fancy outfit in 5 minutes. Saris glared, then sighed dramatically and slipped into the human gear. It fit loosely, lacked elegance, and made her look mortally offended by existence. Rylan nodded. Now you're ready. She muttered something in Aurelian that was probably not a compliment. The first lesson, failure. Rylan held up a disassembled projectile rifle. Saris recoiled. Is that one of your primitive weapons? Yes, and you're going to assemble it. Rylan, she said, eyes wide, this has springs and pieces. Correct, and it smells like oil. Still correct. This is barbaric. And yet, Rylan said, this barbaric thing saved my life more times than I can count. He handed her the pieces. She stared at them as if he'd given her a dead animal. How does one even begin? She demanded. You figure it out, Rylan said. Under fire, you don't get instructions. Saris inhaled sharply, set her jaw, and began. The first attempt failed instantly. The second attempt jammed 2 parts together backwards. The third attempt resulted in a confused, why does this piece exist? By the fourth attempt, she had oil on her fingers, hair sticking out of place, glow flickering in frustration. Rylan watched calmly. You're thinking too logically. Is that a flaw? In a fight? Rylan nodded, yes. She stared at him, stunned. Aurelians pride themselves on perfect clarity of thought, and humans pride themselves on adapting when clarity dies. That line hit her, hard. On the 5th attempt, she assembled the weapon. A small, soft glow appeared along her ears, surprised pride. I did it. Good, Rylan said. Now disassemble it. Her glow flickered indignantly. What, why? Because doing something once means nothing. Doing it under pressure is what counts. Saris muttered again, but she obeyed. The second lesson, real combat. Rylan programmed the room with a human-style simulation. The lights snapped off. The floor vibrated. A piercing alarm blared overhead. Saris jumped back. What is happening? Tech failure drill, Rylan said casually. Human version. The lights are gone. Yep, the platforms are destabilizing. Yep, the system didn't warn us. Exactly. Saris gaped at him in the darkness. This isn't a simulation, it's chaos. That, Rylan said, is combat. She tried to activate her neural shield. Nothing happened. She panicked. My shield. Offline, Rylan said. First assumption, everything fails. That is the most awful doctrine I've ever heard. Rylan smiled in the dark. Welcome to real battle. He guided her through it, feeling the floor vibration, locating threats through sound, moving without visual assistance, using improvised cover, breathing through panic, adapting not planning. She stumbled, she fell, she activated systems that didn't respond. Her glow broke into frantic, chaotic flashes, but she didn't quit, not once. And Fleet Training Ground Zeta was not designed for royalty. It was a brutalist landscape of composite bunkers, metal walkways, exposed piping, and scorch marks from 1,000 drills gone wrong. Humans trained here because nothing was perfect. Systems broke, weather changed, equipment malfunctioned, and they learned to fight through it all. Princess Saris Vale stepped onto the platform wearing patched human training gear, the faint glow of her ears flickering with anxiety. A dozen human soldiers stopped what they were doing the moment they saw her. Rylan walked beside her, his expression unreadable. "Everyone," he called out, "this is Princess Saris. She's here to observe today's joint drill." The soldiers exchanged looks, some curious, some skeptical. A tall corporal leaned in and whispered to his comrade, "She's the one who mocked his armor, right?" "Shut up," the other hissed. "She's royalty." Saris heard all of it. Her glow dimmed slightly. Rylan pretended not to notice. "Princess, stay close. Human drills are messy." "I've noticed," she muttered. The joint exercise begins. The simulation chamber sealed behind them. Metal shutters slamming down with a clang that echoed like impending doom. A voice boomed over the speakers. "Simulation start. MULTI-Tech failure scenario." Saris tensed. "Multi-tech what?" "You'll see," Rylan said. The lights cut out. Sirens wailed. Gravity pulsed just enough to knock her off balance. Her neural shield flickered, then died. She gasped. "Rylan, my systems." "Gone," he said casually. "These conditions are impossible. You can't fight in this." "Watch." Human soldiers moved instantly, switching to backup flashlights, using hand signals, falling into formation, checking bearings, setting up fallback positions, stabilizing motion under shaking floors, adapting in seconds. Meanwhile, the Aurelian soldiers froze. Shield indicators blinked red on their body armor, weapons unresponsive, HUD displays error-coded. This is catastrophic," Saris whispered. "No," Rylan said. "This is Tuesday." Explosions shook the chamber. Smoke hissed from vents. Panels burst in showers of sparks. Saris covered her ears with her hands. "This isn't training, this is torture." Rylan pointed toward his squad. "That's why humans win fights we shouldn't. Because we train for this, the worst case, not the ideal one." She watched, dazed, as humans executed maneuvers with near-perfect coordination, their voices cutting through the chaos. "Backup formation Bravo." "Manual override now." Move. "Cover left flank." "Signal fire team, use analog route." Saris's glow flickered with awe. "They're functioning flawlessly," she whispered, "despite total system collapse." "They're functioning," Rylan corrected, "because they expected collapse." Her eyes widened, realization striking hard. "Aurelians don't expect failure." "And that," Rylan said, "is why your patrol ship died last month." Her glow darkened, pained. "You read that report." "I read everything." She looked at him for a long moment. "You humans are terrifying." Rylan shrugged. "We're alive." The crisis moment. The simulation escalated. A massive mechanical crash echoed overhead. The floor lurched violently. A support beam snapped free, falling straight toward a pair of Aurelian soldiers too stunned to react. Saris screamed, "Move." They didn't, but Rylan did. He sprinted faster than she'd ever seen him move, lunged under the falling beam, and shoved both Aurelians out of the way. The beam slammed into his back armor with a sickening metallic crack. "Rylan!" Saris cried. The hall froze. Humans gasped. Aurelians stared in horror. Rylan slowly pushed the beam aside, face contorted with pain. "Still alive," he grunted. "Barely." Saris ran to him, glow exploding in frantic white patterns, fear, guilt, shock. "Why would you do that?" she demanded, grabbing his arm. Rylan winced. "They weren't moving." "You could have died." "They couldn't." Her glow trembled. You risked your life again for my people." "Your people," he said softly, "are my allies." Something shattered inside her, something proud, arrogant, blind, something that had kept her from seeing him. She saw him now, fully, the political aftershock. When the chamber reopened, chaos erupted, this time from the politicians. Aurelian officials swarmed Saris. "Princess, why were you inside a human simulation? This is unacceptable. That environment is lethal. What were you thinking?" You are heir to the Radiant line. Saris lifted a hand. Every official fell silent instantly. She turned to them with a glow that was no longer just royal. But warrior, I was thinking, she said, that our entire military doctrine collapses if a single system fails. Shock rippled through the officials. And today, she continued, human soldiers showed me that adaptability saves lives when perfection fails. We must learn from them. An advisor nearly fainted. Princess, you can't propose integration of 6 months after the moment Rylan dropped his armor onto the grand prism hall floor and silenced an entire species. He stood in that same hall again, but everything was different now. There were no mocking laughs, no sneering nobles, no glowing ears fluttering with superiority. The hall was quiet, respectfully quiet, as Princess Saris Vale stepped onto the central dais wearing something that sent ripples through the court, a hybrid armor suit. Aurelian shield tech woven into the structure of human composite plating, curved radiant lines sculpted with brutal practicality, a glow that pulsed not with vanity but purpose. It was, for all intents and purposes, the first armor in Aurelian history designed to take damage. She looked magnificent and terrifying. Rylan stood beside her in full human combat gear, still scarred, still grounded, still solid as ever. If Saris was a blade of light, Rylan was the unbreakable hilt that held it. An elder counselor stepped forward. Princess Saris, Sergeant Rylan Voss, today you present your findings from the integration program. You may begin. Saris glanced at Rylan, seeking not permission but partnership. He gave a small nod. She stepped forward, and when she spoke, her voice carried the weight of a ruler not born but forged. The Princess SBAKS Truth. 6 months ago, Saris began, I mocked a warrior whose armor had saved his life more times than my court could comprehend. A murmur spread, uncomfortable, painful, necessary. I mocked what I did not understand, she said, and he revealed truth that silenced me. Her glow strengthened, clean, steady azure. That moment invoked the right of revelation, an ancient law meant to protect warriors from nobles like the one I was. The nobles stiffened but did not protest. Since then, Saris continued, I have learned human combat doctrines, their survival philosophy, their adaptability, their acceptance of failure as a constant companion. She gestured to Rylan. And I have learned from him what war truly means when technology collapses and flesh must carry the burden. Rylan stood still, but every soldier in the hall recognized the pride in his posture. Saris continued. Aurelian soldiers are unmatched when systems function. Humans are unmatched when systems don't. Silence fell through the hall, heavy, undeniable. That is why I proposed the Radiant Initiative, a joint doctrine, shared training, hybrid gear, and recognition, formal recognition of human warriors as equal partners in safeguarding our alliance. Gasps, shock, whispers, some nobles furious, others stunned, many simply humbled, but none objected, not after what they'd seen, not after today, the unexpected crisis. Just as Saris finished speaking, alarms blared through the hall. Red lights, system warnings, a shockwave trembling through the floor, an aide sprinted forward, breathless. Your Highness, a malfunction in orbital platform 7, the shield core is destabilizing. Saris's glow flickered. That platform is over the civilian district. Exactly, the aide said. If it collapses, thousands. He didn't need to finish. Rylan's voice cut through the panic. What's working? The aide blinked. What? What systems are still operational? Primary control is down. Automated failsafes offline. Core is overheating. Access corridors are unstable. No shielded units can go in. Because their tech will short, Rylan muttered. But ours won't. Saris turned to him. You mean? We go, Rylan said, the run to the platform. Minutes later, a shuttle screamed across the skies toward orbital platform 7. Inside, Saris in her hybrid armor. Rylan in full combat gear. A handful of human engineers. A few brave Aurelian soldiers, attempting to adapt to human fallback protocols. The platform loomed ahead, sparking, flickering, breaking apart. You ready? Rylan asked. Saris took a breath. I trained for this. You trained for simulations. She met his eyes, glow sharp, unwavering. Then today I graduate. Rylan couldn't help it. He smiled. The fight for survival. They landed hard. The platform shook like a dying beast. Corridors flickered in and out of existence, hard light panels glitching. Steam blasted from ruptured pipes. Gravity fluctuated. Aurelian soldiers staggered. Human soldiers adapted. Saris, with me? Rylan shouted. She followed without hesitation. He guided her through collapsing decks, dodging bursts of plasma discharge, climbing manually when lifts failed, and stabilizing fallen supports with brute force. At one point, a conduit exploded behind them, the shockwave slamming them forward. Saris caught herself against the wall, then realized her armor had held. His armor had cushioned her fall. Rylan grabbed her hand. "Stay close." She squeezed back. "I'm not losing you," she said, not romantic, not possessive, just real, the final moment. They reached the core chamber, sparking violently, seconds from meltdown. Human engineers scrambled to override manual locks. Rylan shoved a bulkhead aside, muscles straining. "Saris, you need to stabilize the shield emulator." "I don't know how." "Yes, you do," Rylan said. "Remember lesson 12. Saris froze. "Failure cascade protocol." "Exactly." She moved, her hands flew over the consoles, adapting faster than any Aurelian officer. When the system glitched, she switched to the backup. When that failed, she switched to the human analog. And when everything failed, she slammed her hand into the emergency cutoff, channeling raw willpower into the hybrid core. A blast of light erupted. Then, silence, the platform stabilized. The meltdown stopped, they'd done it. Rylan leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Saris turned to him.